Hello, Carol Taylor-Kearney here at Powell Arts, and I am with Karen Kiick, and she is going to explain some interesting facts about her beautiful jewelry. Karen.
So I have a few pieces on display this show. This bottom one they're all earthenware clay. The bottom one has a hosta leaf embedded into the wet clay, and then it's fired. And then I put Venetian plaster and scratch into it and then rub oils on it. This is the same process, except instead of embedding something into the wet clay, I carved into it. And they are blind contour portraits that are barely visible when you look at them now, but they are in there. So a little mystery for the viewer. And then this series is also white earthenware clay that is carved, fired, and then grouted and painted with oils. So they're like little miniature mosaics. They're set in sterling, and these just have a glazed back.
And even the backs of them are quite
Absolutely
lovely.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
And I'm going to just pick this lovely one up. Here we go. There's, as you can see, a lovely
Sterling
sketch.
clasp.
And I want to get this so that I can get a nice close-up of it. Because it is. And it just feels wonderful in your hand. It almost feels like one of those kinds of tokens you want to keep with you.
Well, we were also talking about how this one in particular, the sterling back one, looks like is reminiscent for us of the Eiffel Tower. How do you come up with, one, the materiality that you're going to use, and two, how do you come up with what the decorative ideas are? Yeah,
that's a great question. The material is clay, so I teach ceramics at Township High School, so I'm around clay all the time. It's very natural to me. And starting with the silver bezel, I make the stone fit the bezel, and then the grout helps fill in the gap after the clay shrinks. So anybody who knows anything about clay, that's how it's fitting inside here. So the stones are made to fit the silver that it's sitting in, and I solder the top on before that whole process starts. The line work is just intuitive. So I am making marks, and they all tend to, whether it's two-dimensional paintings or the jewelry that I make, seems to have these lines that just show up, but none of them are repeated. So each stone is one of a kind. So nobody else will have one. Because I'd never be able to do that one again.
Which is exactly what everyone wants to hear. They want to, they're original. They want to,
as original as they are.
Original. Exactly. And also looking at these, and if you come in, yes, you are going to want to touch these.
Yes, because I was going to mention
the surface is wonderful.
You have, even in your two-dimensional, if we can call it two-dimensional, in your flatter work, your paintings and your mixed medias, you have a great grasp of texture and patinas, both visually and tactile, which makes sense because you work in ceramics, which is so tactile. How do you think about texture when you're putting together a piece?
Well, the texture shows itself to me. It's not something that so after the clay is fired and the layer of Venetian plaster goes on, the Venetian plaster is an acrylic medium. And it is kind of almost nothing at first, and then I burnish it. And that's when the layers start to show up. And then on top of that, once I go in with color and I rub it in and I rub it out, that's when it starts to take on an almost historical sense, and why they feel kind of like, Mesopotamian or Babylonian, but each time I'm working on it, I'm rubbing things in and I'm rubbing color out and I'm adding little details. Sometimes I throw in some colored pencil. Like, it is just a constant sort of conversation with it until it feels like it's
snapped into being itself. And I love this idea that the shapes that you're choosing and how these are modern type chords, and yet they tie so well to the history of jewelry. Whether it's like on one hand, I could see this on a Roman lady in the court. I could also see it on someone who is a pharaoh. Cleopatra obviously would have worn a shape like that with those kinds of colors.
But they even tie in really well to like when you talk about the mod look of the 60s or
Yes.
like contemporary jewelry now. They also have a feeling of like bone without being bone.
Actually being bone.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's true.
Even ivory. I mean, I looked at this one and I thought, oh, that reminds me so much of ivory. And
since they're glazed on the back too, like it could be worn in either direction. So it's got a little rustic feel. Not all of them have the same color.
Well, and also
on
like the back
side.
is so silky smooth, and what you're using the satin varnish like gives it a nice shimmer that it makes it versatile.
And also will be one of those pieces of jewelry that you wear and it will feel good against your skin.
Yeah.
And it also, I mean, when I wear mine, it's almost like it's soothing, like to just, I find myself just kind of.
Tell Gwyneth Paltrow, she might want to sell this.
It becomes a nice little touch piece.
Yeah, like it's just like it's grounding.
Well, and also they have, because obviously we were touching all of them, they have a sturdy, like a substantial feel, like you're looking at this beautiful thing, but they also are light, so they don't, it's not going to be abrasive.
Of course, it's not going to be
They're surprisingly light.
Yeah. So
they do. They literally
Even the big one.
Yeah.
And on when you pick it up in your hand, you're like, this does feel like a stone. It feels substantial.
Or a piece of like clay from. It feels aged. It feels like it has history to it.
Yeah.
So
each one has their own.
Take my whole artist in without even like knowing it.
we know a little of it, but
that's perfect. That's exactly what I feel like I'm trying to do.
So, and it's just really beautiful. Like it makes you feel like, I love that you said that touching it makes you feel calm and like that tactile sense, but also looking at it visually, there's something about them that's very centering, I think.
Yeah, they call to you. Each one seems to have its own personality.
And they have a nice glow.
Yeah. I will agree. So please come see Karen Kiick's beautiful jewelry. Oh, not just come and see it. Come buy it. You'll love it.
Yeah.
Halloween Arts from
January 19th through March 12th.
Thank you very much. Thank you, Karen.
Thank you.